It is good to be back. Happy New Year, and let's get into it. So hello, welcome back. It's been a minute and I really thank you for your patience. 2021 was a little bit rough, but that's what books are for, right? And today I'm excited because I'm reviewing A.D. Wells' book, The Keeper Codex. Now, I'm a little nervous because Amazon says it's book 101, but it definitely screams series to me. So this is multi-layered. It's also a little bit out of my comfort zone, just because it kind of gives me Lord of the Rings vibes, because there's adventure and there's like unexpected fellowship and there are like battle scenes that seem very orcish and stuff. I'm not a big Lord of the Rings person, I'm sorry. I have watched all the movies though, including the extended director's cuts. But it also kind of gives me, like, right off the bat, Treasure Planet vibes, where there's this like kind of orphan dude who wants to explore. I've only seen that once though, and it's been 5+ years, so may or may not be the greatest comparison. And then, I don't know, there's like some plotting, there's a little bit of Hunger Games elements in the sense that there's like this big tournament and there's an arena, but it's not like, well, I guess it's any film or book where there's a big tournament thing where people are fighting against each other. So I don't know, maybe Hunger Games again isn't the best example. But the point is, it's multi-layered, it's multifaceted, but it's super engaging and it's super descriptive. And as someone who, honestly, most of this shelf is historical fiction, not this shelf obviously, it was fun to switch things up, to get out of my comfort zone. So there are multiple storylines going on. One has to follow this orphan, the Treasure Planet-y one, that then turns into Lord of the Rings, sort of, Caden. And he is the son of adventurers, and he just wants to see the world. He wants to explore, he wants to adventure, he wants that life. So he turns 17, his uncle, who's kind of like his charge, is like, well, I guess you can go explore the world now. Here's some stuff from your parents. Peace. So he gets on the ship, and on the ship he meets Sappho, who's an Ursine, which I'm not sure if it's like Wolfman, like Golden Age Hollywood Wolfman, or if it's like part wolf, part man, but some sort of Wolfman dude. And this other character, Snillrick, who, to go back to Treasure Planet, seems kind of Atlantean. Like, he's really good with tools, and they make all these trinkets, and they have like this technology. So he's like super duper smart, and he's quirky, and he's like, he just seems like a little guy. So you have this little guy, you have this big little guy, because Sappho's kind of like the emotional runt of the litter. And then you have Caden, who's just like, hey y'all, like, I'm here to explore. And no one's really sure what to do with him. So it's just, it makes for a really interesting dynamic. And on their journey, they meet this other character, Zasha, and she's kind of this witch, not witch, like druid-like kind of person. And their whole dynamic, very interesting. So they band together on an adventure and end up in this small town, in this world, and they're up against the divines, who are really tyrants. They don't seem to be all that good, but we don't know a lot about them. And so that's why I hope it's a series, because I want to learn more. So that's Caden's story. Then you have this other story, because it's kind of like 2.5 storylines. So you have this other storyline with Lord Draymond and his daughter Calera, and they live in Lindenwell, which is this big city that is just, has it all. It seems like it's the Wizard of Oz, I guess. Like, it just seems to have it together, like to the point where they don't even have an army, which, you know, kind of bites them in the butt later, but we're getting to that. So King Draymond, he seems like a genuinely good guy. Everybody seems to really like him. but he seems to be a little unsure of himself. And so I would have liked to see a little bit more character development with Draymond. But I'll get into that in a second too. So he is part of this council of elders, and at one point after the King's tournament, so the not so Hunger Gamey tournament thing, he goes to this place called Fiella, where it's all elemental. So there's like an earth and a wind and an air and a fire place, and it just seems really, really cool. Would have also loved to see more of that. And while they're there, they meet with different leaders of different realms to discuss stuff. And while they're discussing stuff, Izu, and he's the leader of the Drakis, and that's kind of like half the other like half storyline. He asks for help because his people are plagued by dragons, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, like that sucks. We're sorry that you're so scared and that you're having to defend your home constantly and that your people are dying. Like, we're really, really sorry. We feel for you, but we can't help you because these divines, who are these mystical beings who have this weird power that is unexplained, said that dragons are sacred, so we can't help you kill these dragons. So he like storms off in a rage. Draymond's like, oh no, I feel so guilty. And guys, it's complicated. I don't want to give away too much. A small spoiler, Draymond doesn't last all that long, and Izu kind of turns to the dark side because he's just so enraged by personal loss and feeling betrayed by the rest of the council that he basically says, screw it, I'm attacking. Which is where there is character growth with Clara a little bit, because you get to see her go from this kind of headstrong, sassy princess to this like, oh crap moment where she says, I'm queen now and I have to like rally the people. I gotta do stuff. Which was super cool, and I wanted to see more of that. So I think that's kind of like my one critique of the book, is that it's really clear that everything's connected because of these divines, whoever they are. But like each of those stories are so interesting on their own that they almost deserve their own book, and then like a third or a fourth or however long this series is already planning to take, because I'm hoping it's a series, to tie it all together. Because like I wanted to see more character development in some spaces, and I wanted to see more interaction just because they're entertaining with other spaces. I wanted to know more about the divines, or like with the Drakis. They were there for such a short chunk of the book, and at first they were like every 3 or 4 chapters, and then they just kind of stopped talking about them after the fight, which is about 3/4 of the way through, 2/3 of the way through. So like there's just so much development there, and it's so clear that Will's put in so much thought and effort behind all the towns and all the characters and just everything, that I wanted more, but not in one book. I wanted it spread out because I think each one deserved its own piece. Overall, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it's not my usual genre, so if you, like me, aren't really a fantasy person, it might take a little while to get into this book. And there is a lot of exposition, especially since you do have all of those different storylines. But if you like fantasy, absolutely go for it. Some things are a little gory, not quite graphic though. So I don't think the fight scenes or the battle scenes are too bad. There is a little bit of swearing, so if you're sensitive to that, please be aware. It was also kind of funny though, because most of the language is pretty PG. So seeing those couple of F-bombs is kind of like, ooh, this is getting serious. But yeah, overall, great read. Really enjoyed it. Definitely recommend, especially if you like fantasy, adventure, that sort of thing. So next week, I will be partnering with Inkberry Books in Niawat, and I have an advanced reader copy. So I don't have the date of release yet, but it should be soon. This is Shifting Forward by Carrie Jane Knowles. She is a return to the channel, so excited to check her out. In the meantime, happy reading and thanks.